This man survived a haunted house challenge, but he didn't realize he left part of himself behind until it was too late. In 2017, a man decided to spend the night in a haunted house. The rules were simple. He couldn't use any weapons or run away. If he wanted to leave, he had to bring back an item from each room as proof that he was there, and he had to live stream the whole thing. He made it to the basement and found a bloodied meat cleaver. Then he heard footsteps behind him. He turned around and saw a shadowy figure standing in the doorway, and then it lunged at him. He screamed and ran away. When the police arrived, they found the front door wide open and the live stream ended right here. They never found the man, but they did find his phone in the basement with the meat cleaver still lodged in it. He had to live stream the whole thing. It was supposed to be a fun night, just a little ghost hunting for content. But now, his phone was dead, his flashlight was dead, and he was alone in an old abandoned house that was rumored to be haunted. He started to panic, knowing that if he didn't get out of there soon, he wouldn't make it out alive. It all started when he found an old Polaroid camera in his attic. It was huge, dusty, and unlike anything he'd ever seen before. There was something about it that just drew him in. As he began to clean it off, he realized that it might be worth a lot of money. So he decided to do some research. He took it to a local antique shop and the owner told him that it was a rare model that had been discontinued years ago. She offered him $200 for it, but he turned it down. He wanted to keep it for himself. As he was leaving the store, he noticed a flyer for a ghost hunting event at an abandoned house nearby. It was being hosted by a paranormal investigation team, and tickets were almost sold out. He got excited because he could use this camera to get some real footage of ghosts. When he arrived at the house, it was dark and creepy. The other attendees were already there, their faces lit up by their phone screens. A woman approached him and introduced herself as the host. She explained that the camera wouldn't work until it was completely dark, so they all waited outside until the sky was filled with stars. Then they went inside. The group split up and explored the different rooms while she continued to take pictures. The air grew colder as they walked through the house. They could hear chains dragging metal moans. Then, suddenly, a portrait of a young girl appeared in the photos. They all screamed and dropped to their knees. What did it mean? Why was she there? They didn't know how to answer these questions, but they had to keep going. They couldn't turn back now. The host led them to a dark corner where a rocking chair was moving by itself. They watched in horror as it swayed back and forth, getting faster and faster until it hit the wall. The room temperature dropped even further and they could feel a presence behind them. They all turned around, but there was nothing there. Then they heard footsteps. Heavy footsteps that sounded like someone was dragging themselves closer and closer. They all screamed again and ran away, tripping over each other in their haste to get out of the room. He could hear the footsteps behind him, getting louder and more menacing. He had to get away from there, but his legs felt like they were filled with lead. He tried to run, but he could only move a few steps before collapsing onto the floor. The footsteps stopped. He dared to look back and saw the shadowy figure standing in the doorway. It took a step forward and then another. It was coming closer and he couldn't move. He wanted to scream, but no sound came out of his mouth. The figure loomed over him and reached out a hand. He closed his eyes and waited for the end, but it never came. He opened his eyes to see the host kneeling beside him. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You fainted. I called the others, but they're still looking for that girl. We need to find her before it's too late." He shook his head, trying to clear it. "What happened? How long was I out?" "Just a few minutes," she replied. "But we have to go. The longer we stay here, the more dangerous it becomes." He nodded, slowly getting to his feet. He still felt weak, but he knew that he had to get out of there if he wanted to survive. As they made their way through the dark house, the host told him about the legend of the girl in the rocking chair. Apparently, she had died in the house years ago, and now she was haunting it. "We have to find her and help her move on," the host said. "If we can't, she'll be trapped here forever." He didn't know if any of that was true, but he didn't want to stick around to find out. He followed the host out of the house and into the darkness. Once they were far away, he turned to her and asked, "How do we find her?" "I don't know," she whispered, "but we need to try. If we don't, she'll drag us back with her." He shuddered at the thought and quickened his pace. They needed to get out of there before it was too late. As they searched for the girl, the host kept checking her watch and muttering to herself. "We're running out of time," she said suddenly. "We have to hurry." He didn't know what she was talking about, but he trusted her. He knew that she was trying to help him, even though he didn't understand why. After what felt like hours, they finally found the girl. She was sitting in the same rocking chair, staring straight ahead. "Hello," the host called out. "Can you hear me?" The girl turned her head and a smile spread across her face. "Yes," she said softly. "I can hear you." The host knelt down beside her and asked, "Why are you here?" "I'm waiting for my friend," the girl replied. "He promised to come back for me, but he never did." The host looked at him and whispered, "Your friend is here now." The girl turned to him and her eyes widened. "Really?" she asked. "Is that you?" He felt a pull in his heart. He knew that he had to do something, but he didn't know what. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "I didn't know you were here. I would have come back for you sooner." The girl's face fell and she looked away. "It's okay," she whispered. "I understand." He got up and helped her out of the chair. "Let's get you home," he said. "You don't have to wait here anymore." She smiled at him and thanked him. As they walked away from the house, he could feel her presence watching him. He turned around, but she was gone. He knew that she was right behind him, though, and he could feel her cold little hand in his. He woke up in his bed with a start. His heart was racing and his clothes were soaked in sweat. Had it all been a dream? He wasn't sure. He got out of bed and walked to the window. The sun was just beginning to rise and the sky was filled with the most beautiful colors. He took a deep breath and relaxed a little. But then he noticed something. His phone was on the floor, dead. He picked it up and stared at the screen. It was covered in scratches and the glass was broken. He didn't remember doing that. He tried to call for help, but the battery was dead. He was trapped in his own home with no way to get out. He needed to get out of there, but his legs felt like they were filled with lead. He tried to run, but he could only move a few steps before collapsing onto the floor. And then he heard footsteps. Heavy footsteps that sounded like someone was dragging themselves closer and closer. He had to get away from there, but his legs felt like they were filled with lead. He tried to run, but he could only move a few steps before collapsing onto the floor. He could hear the footsteps behind him getting louder and more menacing.